The notion of a Satanic New World Order has been a topic of conspiracy theories for decades, with many believing that a group of powerful individuals and organizations are working to create a one-world government that would control every aspect of our lives. Recently, the issue of climate change has been added to this narrative, with some arguing that it is being used as a tool to oppress us and bring about this new world order. In this essay, we will explore this claim and examine the evidence to see if there is any truth to it. On the surface, the idea that climate change is being used to oppress us may seem far-fetched. After all, the overwhelming scientific consensus is that human activities, particularly the emission of greenhouse gases, are causing the Earth's temperature to rise, leading to more frequent and severe weather events, rising sea levels, and other negative consequences. However, some argue that this consensus is not based on science, but rather on a deliberate attempt to manipulate public opinion and bring about a new world order. One of the main arguments made by those who believe in this conspiracy theory is that the climate change agenda is being driven by a group of wealthy and powerful individuals who stand to gain from the implementation of policies aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. For example, Al Gore, the former US Vice President, has been accused of using his climate change activism to make money through his investments in green technologies. Similarly, companies like Goldman Sachs and General Electric have been accused of profiting from the climate change agenda through their investments in renewable energy and carbon trading. Another argument made by conspiracy theorists is that the climate change agenda is being used to justify the implementation of policies that would erode our freedoms and bring about a more authoritarian form of government. For example, some argue that the push for a global carbon tax would give governments the power to control every aspect of our lives, from the food we eat to the cars we drive. Similarly, the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, such as Agenda 21, has been accused of being a Trojan horse for the implementation of a New World Order. However, a closer examination of the evidence reveals that these claims are largely unfounded. While it is true that some individuals and companies may be profiting from the climate change agenda, this does not necessarily mean that they are driving the agenda for sinister purposes. In fact, many of the companies that are investing in green technologies are doing so because they recognize the economic benefits of transition to a low-carbon economy. Furthermore, the idea that the climate change agenda is being used to justify authoritarian policies is also not supported by the evidence. In fact, many of the policies aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, such as carbon pricing and renewable energy targets, are designed to promote freedom and choice, rather than restrict them. For example, carbon pricing gives individuals and companies the freedom to choose how they want to reduce their emissions, rather than imposing a one-size-fits-all solution. In addition, the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, such as Agenda 21, is aimed at promoting sustainable development and reducing poverty, rather than bringing about a new world order. These goals are based on the principles of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, and are designed to promote the well-being of all people rather than a select few. In conclusion, while the idea that the Satanic New World Order is using climate change propaganda to oppress us may be a compelling narrative, it is not supported by the evidence. The overwhelming scientific consensus is that human activities are causing the Earth's temperature to rise, and that urgent action is needed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the worst effects of climate change. Rather than being driven by a sinister agenda, the climate change movement is driven by a desire to promote sustainable development, reduce poverty, and protect the environment. We should be cautious of conspiracy theories that aim to undermine this effort and instead work together to address the real challenges posed by climate change.